alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church, though.
Tolly man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
This is the Interface Show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 3rd of June, 2023. In Uganda, every 3rd of June, we are always celebrating the Martyrs' Day. This is a day where we remember the people who died for what they believed in, something that they thought that they are willing to really die for, and that was their faith. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is Martyrs' Day, and of course, happy Martyrs' Day to each and everybody. Those of you who are in Namugongo, those of you who made that pilgrimage from various parts of the continent and various parts of the country, of course, it is the day we are here, and of course, we are remembering the martyrs. The function is already going on; it's underway at Namugongo Martyrs Shrine, and we shall be touching base on really what that day means to us, and of course what Dr. Kizza Besigye also thinks about this particular day. As you well know, this is the Interface Show. It happens every Saturday from 10 to midday. We're always here trying to have a conversation with Uganda with a view that the things we talk about here can create sustainable change and, of course, create a better country for all of us, a better Uganda that we shall be proud of, and, of course, a country that we shall be able to call home, and our children will be able to grow in such a country. As we are speaking today, Uganda continues to really be a country of phenomenons. Different things happen each and every other day. The most consistent of them all is the increasing gun crime that we are still experiencing as a people. As we speak, yesterday, we had an attack on mobile money, and of course, 150 million was robbed therein, according to the police. Earlier this week, we also had a UPDF soldier who shot down someone, or a footballers, because they had deterred or barred him from joining the game. So in Arua there, when this gentleman was refused to take part in the football game that was going on there, he became angry and he went to his unit, picked up his gun, and came and shot at various people. And unfortunately, one of them passed on due to this particular gun crime. As we're speaking, that is something that has been increasing each and every day. Every time I have been with Dr. Kizza Besigye here, for the past, I think, a month and so, we have been really talking about this issue, and it's something that has been recurring. So what are the lasting solutions we can do? What is the police doing? Earlier this week, again, our AMISOM contingent in Somalia was attacked by the Al-Shabaab, and they claim to have annihilated and killed 137 of our soldiers. The police, the UPDF, and of course, Mr. President Museveni has not yet confirmed this number, but Al-Shabaab are clear, and they're saying that they killed 137 of our people right there. There's some images that were going on social media. Those images were not really appealing to the eye. That is what is happening there. And of course, lastly, President Museveni assented to the anti-homosexuality bill. It is now a law. It is an act of parliament, and of course, it is legally binding. So in case you are found, participating in same-sex relationships, you are, you'll be able to be punished. Some will be killed if you commit aggravated defilement or rape. Some will be, incarcerated for up to 14 years, others up to 20 years, others up to 10 years. There are different penalties therein. What does this mean to Uganda? We have the international community commenting on this, and they come out to say that it is really, really something that they are not proud of. We had Joe Biden also making a comment therein. Uganda is now, in the black books of the international community due to the signing of this particular bill into law. So we shall also be talking about that and much more. You can join the conversation. We are at the Alternative Uganda, that is on Facebook, on Twitter, and all other social media platforms. And of course, we continue to thank you so much for always watching this show, for always sharing the videos that come out of this show, and of course for always showing us that each and every day we are becoming better. Each and every day we see numbers increasing. So thank you so much for your viewership. We don't take it lightly, but it's always a privilege on our end. Without any further ado, allow me welcome Dr. Kizza Besigye. He's already here with us, and let's touch base on how the country is looking like at the moment. Dr. Kizza Besigye, you're welcome to the interface.
Thank you very much, Edgar, and a very good morning to all the viewers and listeners, wherever you are joining this interface program from. I hope you've had a reasonably good week in spite of challenging situations that I know most of Ugandans definitely go through all these years. If you've lost a dear one, you have patience and having all of those kinds of challenges, my thoughts and prayers go out to you. And those who are having weddings today and enjoying good times, we celebrate with you. And certainly, as Edgar has said, this is Matters Day today, the 3rd of June. Big celebration that goes on at the shrines in Namugongo, the Anglican shrine and the Catholic shrine, remembering 45 young people, 22 Catholics and 23 Anglicans that were killed during the years of 1885 up to 1887, ordered to be killed by the king, then King Mwanga II, for insisting to continue with their faith, the Christian faith that was new then in the country, and that the king felt was undermining his authority and the basis of his kingdom. And so these young people were, first of all, asked whether they really wanted to defy the king and continue with their prayers and faith. And they took a stand.
Exactly.
They took a stand that, this is what we believe in. And in spite of the indeed impending kind of sanctions that awaited them, they did not change. And they were burnt. They were then walked, of course, all the way to Namugongo and burnt.
Yeah.
And it's said that, as they were in the fire burning, that they were singing defiantly until they of course, perished. And so this day really is a day of reflection about beliefs and standing for something, and especially amongst young people. These were aged 14 to 30,
Very young.
about 30. The oldest was about, so they were all youthful people that were able to take a stand, and on the basis of which the whole world has paid attention to what they stood for. And so it's a day of reflection, especially, it should be a day of reflection for young people.
Yes, Doctor.
As to whether you are able to take a stand for what you believe in.
That's
And the regrettable thing is that really we have many young people that cannot take a stand for something.
Doctor, sorry for interrupting you, but you talk about the young people then, and also I want to bring it to the young people in the 80s and the 70s who had something they believed in and they were willing to die. But when you compare to this generation we are in, young people are teaching themselves to fear women at such a moment, Doctor. Really, people, you guys, when you were young, you were willing to lose your life.
And also to fear men.
And they're also to fear men.
It's not just
That's the conversation we are having in Uganda today. Fear women, fear men. That's what the young people are really focusing on.
Yes, no, as I have said, but it's not. It's. I don't think that it is all just fear men or fear women. I think even today there are some young people that are focused on great things.
Yes.
And that are willing to take a stand for their beliefs. Even today, they are there. I dare say they are not, I think, as many as one would want to see, and that is the concern.
Yes.
A great many of the young people, one gets a sense, just drift with the wind,
Yes,
mainly seeking immediate gratification, whatever can give them immediate happiness and maybe immediate promise. They seem to drift with that. If it changes, they continue drifting with what can give them immediate gratification. And that is sad.
Yes.
That we have large numbers of young people that are simply drifting, and especially not focused on the common good.
Yes.
Increasingly everybody just looks
At themselves.
at themselves. As a society, that is a terrible thing. And this is why this day is important.
Yes, please.
And really, I would like to take off a moment to celebrate those young lives 140 years ago, nearly 140 years ago, who took that stand and were able to make the, make the highest sacrifice for what they believed in.
Yes.
And especially belief in God. Now, some people have been trying to undermine or undercut what they did by saying, this was religion brought by, the white people.
Exactly.
We should, focus on our traditional beliefs and so on. And you see, the essence here is freedom of belief. Nobody should force you to believe in something, but there should be freedom for people to talk about their belief. And indeed, through talking about their belief, if you are persuaded
You can join them.
to that belief, then you congregate together.
Yes.
And I think this is what happened in this case. And you see, these faiths, eventually, indeed, they, just like all beliefs that grow and become world embraced, must mean that they have substance that
Could unite the whole world.
that attracts people, and those that don't will fizzle out.
Exactly.
So, and there is no doubt that Christianity, which started in a small place in Israel, is now followed by billions of people. It means that there is something in it, and therefore these young people, identified something that they considered good to follow, but more importantly, were willing to take a stand to follow it. And I would wish young people to really emulate those matters and use this day not just to view the numbers of people at Namugongo or to be just amongst the crowd, but to take the lesson that all that is happening because young people, 14 years old, 15, 17, took a stand and became an example of, they became leaders of a faith. And that is what is, regrettably, rather lacking today. So I hope the young people could be inspired by what we are celebrating today in Uganda.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kizza Besigye. Those are Doctor's remarks on the Matters Day that we are celebrating today as a country. Yesterday, we had the leader of opposition and his office really having a retreat on legislative reforms, some things that they think will help in bettering the electoral process of Uganda today. Dr. Kizza Besigye was there, and he had some message and some remarks he made there, but outrightly, he is someone who was not believing that the ballot come 2026 can do anything or can change the government. I'm going to first play Dr. Kizza Besigye's speech that he had to conduct, or he passed over to the legislators right there in Munyonyo. And from there, we're going to be starting on that particular issue. Why is it that the electoral reforms may not be the solution to the lasting issues or political problems of Uganda today? Let's hear what Dr. Besigye had to tell the office of the opposition.
A district budget of a district is about 15 billion. Some 7 a year. Budget of a district. Somebody's pocket money to donate 130-something billion, and that is only the beginning before the supplementary budgets which you will pass. And you have no choice but to pass it. So how will you reform that? How can you reform commercialization, militarization, which he was talking about? How do you reform that? Because every election is like a war. The deployments you see all over the country is of a war footing. You know? You see what happens. Even in a by-election, a small by-election, the deployments that are there, how do you reform that? Because these are not some things provided by the law. How do you reform the structural impoverishment of the population? Because the population has been impoverished structurally by taking all their money and their money servicing a few people structurally. It's not that the population does not know, but what can they do? The parish model money you have that they are singing about now, drumming parish development model. This is part of the patronage money for the next election. And it's being rolled out very, typically, the template is there. You'll see when Myoga came, when Bonaba Gagawale came, it is all rolled out as part of the donations for the next election. Not that it's going to cause anything in the population, and the population knows, because in any case, all the money they use comes from those very parishes. Is there any money that does not come from the parish, including the 137 he's going to be donating, came from those parishes? So money goes from parishes, it does not go back. There have been no supplies to health centers from what I have been hearing in the countryside for the last 6 to 8 months. No single supply to the health centers. Whoever is sick in the whole country must look after themselves. Yet they send the money to the center. But they have to fend for themselves. So what reforms know that they have imposed?
Let's start from there. Very intriguing words that are, speaking to a lot of issues they are in. Doctor, why is it that you feel that the electoral reforms are going to do little to change the electoral process of this country?
Well, the point is very simple. You see, reforms, electoral reforms, or even constitutional reforms are changes in the laws.
Exactly.
Now, changes in the laws become helpful when the laws themselves are respected and followed. The biggest problem that the country faces is that laws are not respected. At least those that they don't want, those who are in authority don't want to respect, they don't feel obliged to respect them. And so if you can amend the law and go through the motions of amending the law, but even those that are there, before you amend the ones that you want to bring, they are not being followed. So if they are not being followed, there is no rule of law. How do you reform the absence of the rule of law? What reform can force those violating the laws not to violate them? What reform is there? What reform is there to change the abuse of our money that is going on, which I was talking about, where, money is taken away from the people, and they know, like the corrupt, you can see the people who took the Mabati, that's the most fresh theft that is there. People who took Mabati of the Karamajong, Everybody knows they are thieves, they stole. But they are all still ministers. They are still being driven around by drivers, by all kinds of things, getting allowances, going abroad. I had, there is one who was supposed to appear in court the other day, Minister Zero Gorobi or whatever, and he told the court, no, he has gone away on state duties. He will not be coming to court. A thief, So the population knows that what is theirs is taken away. But they have nothing to do. What can they do? They know that all this, they hear at least, that all this money that goes to State House is going to State House, but they are not able to take their children to school this term. Many parents can't take their children to school, but they had money which was taken away from them through taxes that cannot provide them education or health or whatever. How do you reform? So how do you reform the lack of power within the population to cause those who are in authority to account to them? How do you reform that? In the law. So the reforms that are needed, there are reforms needed, but not in the law. Those reforms, impunity cannot be reformed in the law. You have seen soldiers attack parliament.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever inquired into who attacked parliament and who beat up MPs? The Speaker of Parliament wrote to the President.
Yes.
He said, who are these people? I didn't invite anybody to Parliament. Did she get a reply? Even for writing that letter, it is, I suspect, one of the reasons she is no longer Speaker. The soldiers who attacked courts because they didn't want what courts had decided. What happened to them? Was anybody who attacked court charged?
No.
So if the courts can be attacked, if Parliament can be attacked, these are the supreme, Parliament is the supreme organ of the state because it's a representation of the people. So it should be the supreme organ. So if you attack Parliament with impunity, and there is nothing, so how do you reform? How does Parliament make a reform that will ensure that it will not be attacked? What kind of reform is there? So the point I was simply making is that the fundamental change that is needed is in the power dynamics, because the Constitution, which provides for how the country is organized and governed, should be made by the people. People should be sovereign people should have all the power of the country, should be sovereign, and that is not the case. If they were, then they would cause those who serve them to account to them. But since independence, the people of Uganda have never sacked a leader. Say, we no longer want you, get out of office. It has, for more than 60 years, it has never happened. For more than 60 years, they have never, by themselves, brought a new leader. Even a new leader is brought by force, and whoever goes away is taken away by force. So the people are irrelevant in the management of the country. They are totally marginal. They have no power to change leadership. They have no power to cause the leaders to account to them. And indeed, no doubt, Mr. Museveni, who is supposed to be their servant, says, I am not a servant of anybody. I don't want to hear anybody say that kind of nonsense. I am not a servant of anybody. So, precisely because he is the sovereign, he is the supreme authority, and we are his servants. So, that is what must be reformed. That those who are now sovereign must become servants, and those who are today in the form of servants, the population, must regain their supremacy, must regain their sovereignty in Uganda, so that the constitution we make becomes the supreme law, that you cannot violate it without grave consequences, that you cannot alter it at will, you know, like you have seen happening. Indeed, when they beat up those MPs, they were trying to say, but wait a moment.
You cannot remove this clause. But Doctor, I want just to also put ourselves
So those reforms are not reforms to be made in Parliament. Those reforms are to be made in a struggle of the people to regain that power.
Okay. Doctor, allow me ask this. Let's try to put ourselves in the shoes of the legislators. The Constitution mandates that the only way to change government is through an electoral process. And all the legislators are trying to say is that, why don't we make this electoral, let's put the laws that will make this electoral process better. Because this is through which, the only way that the Constitution says has to
whose Constitution?
The Constitution of Uganda.
Yes, but whose Constitution is it? Because you see, even when the British ruled Uganda, there was a Constitution. Their Constitution of how they would rule Uganda. We could not, we ourselves could not talk about how to amend the British Constitution on how it governs us. We had no capacity, we had no authority. That is the same situation. The national resistance movement was never brought by the people. It was brought by force of arms.
The people who said, let's go fight the injustice that was there.
Yes, and they captured the power of Uganda by force and keep it by force. You see?
Yes.
So there is no reform to that except reversing it so that people, they did not amend the Constitution in order to get their power. No. In fact, what they did, or what we did, because I was one of them, was treason.
Exactly, to do away with the Constitution. And
Yes, it was treason.
Exactly.
Because we were not part of the Constitution. We fought to get rid of it and to create a new order.
For the people of Uganda.
Yes, which we didn't, of course. And that's why the struggle continues for the people. That's why the struggle continues.
Yeah.
So, the Constitution we are talking about serves those who have power.
the people don't have power. The laws serve those who have power, not those who don't have power. Institutions serve those who have power.
Yes.
If you go to the justice system, it will not serve you if you have no power. And so the population must have power, must first regain power for all the laws and constitution and institutions to serve them. They must first regain their power. And that is what we are focusing people on. Because there is confusion in the system of what some artificial system that is there, which they are trying to get everybody to believe is working for them, whereas it's not, whereas they have no control over it. And that's the debate that we should have. That's where the rebuilding of the country will begin. Why did we struggle against the British? And what was achieved by struggling against the British? If after the British went, for 60 years we have not been able to change our own leaders. The British stayed here for 70.
Yes.
60 years on, we are still in the same situation. So the solution will not be found by those who are creating the problem. No. The people, the population must find the solution of how to get out of this, to have power to determine how their resources are used.
Okay.
You see, whoever has power controls wealth. If the population has power, it will control the wealth of Uganda. Today, the wealth of Uganda is controlled by Mr. Museveni and his family. That's why even those who seek judgment for their land, for this, they must go to the person who has power. You see?
Yes.
And if they say these ones get off the land, they will get off the land.
Yeah.
So that's what must change by not amending the laws, because nobody will respect. They are not under any obligation to respect the laws that they don't want. They will just ignore them. All these people they are arresting and keeping in safe houses and torturing and doing and killing, they are not killing them according to the law. They are not arresting them according to the law. They are not detaining them according to the law. So, that you cannot reform because
by changing the law.
Because the law even now is not what is being followed. So that's why we are talking about a grand reset of the country that will happen only when the people regain control over their country. And they won't regain control over their country without a struggle.
Yeah.
They must be able to stand like those matters to stand and say, no, this is our country and we shall not accept that you treat us this way.
Yes.
And that is all it takes, by the way. You see, people fear those who control them by force. All it takes is simply to deny them authority over us. And authority is willful acceptance. You accept that I am your boss. If I don't accept that you are my boss, you will refuse to be my boss. I don't believe you. I don't accept you. You are not my boss. I won't listen to you. So obedience. We must withdraw our obedience to those who have captured our power. And by withdrawing our obedience to them, we deny them the power over us.
Even if they have guns or what, they cannot extract obedience if we don't want to obey them. Yes, we can, or to cooperate with them. We can withdraw our cooperation, our obedience with them.
Doctor, how can this be done in a legal manner? Because we also do not want to be outside the constitution as the people of Uganda.
You see, I have told you that legality, laws arise from sovereignty, from who owns. You know?
Yes, sir.
If you are in your home and you make rules for how the home is managed, where children will sleep, where this will happen, whether you can change it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you have power, it is yours, you can change it.
Yes.
You can't say, I can't do this because it is not the rule. You are the rule. You are the one who makes the rules. So the people of Uganda, to be sovereign means they become their constitution. They become their law. They can reduce that into writing at any time, but first they must regain that power of the state. And that is not regained by writing, you see?
Yes, sir.
It is regained by struggling for that control. Mr. Museveni did not amend any law to become the president of Uganda.
Actually broke the law.
He broke.
He broke the law.
He broke. He was. So, in terms of, and even in law, there is a law philosopher,
Yes, sir.
man called Kelsen. So the lawyers studied the Kelsen theory of revolution. And the Kelsen theory of revolution generally says that if you change the circumstances in the country, then the previous order ceases to exist. And you have created a new order, which is the law, which is the new law. So you are legal. It's not that you are doing something illegal once the circumstances change. So by simply the population saying, we no longer take you as our master.
Yes, sir.
Just taking that stand, the stand that was taken by the martyrs to say, yes, you are a king, but we don't believe in you. We have another king that we believe in. That ceases, you cease to be their leader. So by simply the population taking that stand, the order in the country will change. And they become the masters. And then they will make a constitution. That's what we call, so by just taking the stand, the transition begins. The order goes, the new order begins, and the people now make the mechanism for making a new constitution. And the new constitution then gives rise to new institutions.
Yes.
And new legal framework. And that's what is needed. Because we are still under domination, just like by the colonial powers. It has not changed, only that domination is now by people who emanated from our own areas, but it's the same domination, and that's what we must end. For the first time since colonial advent, 130 years under domination, we must end it, and it will not be ended by reforming the laws they are talking about in Parliament.
Okay. Doctor, some people have a school of thought. Let me give you an example, like Mr. Andrew Mwenda, who have a school of thought that you are cognitively biased, that you have a bad experience with elections in this country, and he says where you've been defeated 4 times, but because you have failed as a person to be able to take power through that means, you feel that Ugandans should follow your suit. He says that you are the biggest problem that Uganda has, people like you, who, because you failed in that regard.
Mwenda is just an opportunist par excellence. I mean, there is no doubt about it. What he was saying the other day when he was still a journalist, it's like now there is a Mwenda that walks with his head and the feet are up. But it is the same Mwenda. You see the reality. He should challenge the reality, whether in the 60 years I was not contesting for power for 60 years. No. I only started challenging Museveni 20 years ago.
201.
But for 60 years, there has never been a change of power through an election. Never. That is not because of me. That is because of the circumstances that I have been talking about. The capture of all institutions, the militarization of politics, the commercialization of politics, you know?
Yes.
These are real, you know? And I have, what I was saying there was try and flesh them out to show how commercialization
The impact.
is used,
Yes.
you know? So, the thing is that you cannot, you know, take the last election that I participated in 2016.
16, yeah.
The law says that if you are dissatisfied with the outcome of the election, you can petition the court.
Yes.
And it gives only the candidate that power, nobody else. My party cannot petition. It is the candidate who petitions. And is given only 10 days to do so.
Yeah.
For all the 10 days and more that the Constitution gave me that option, I could not get out of my home, nor could anybody come to my home, including lawyers. And this was captured on all cameras for the whole country to know what was going on. So, if that is not a coup, what is it? If you have gone through an election, you have announced yourself and locked up your opponent not to raise an objection to what you are doing. What are you doing? It's a coup, you know? Eventually, when they released me,
Yes, sir.
I declared myself a winner and had evidence to show that I had won, but it was no longer possible to take it to court.
Yes.
But I declared myself a winner, for which I was charged, and I expected that I would be charged. I was charged with treason.
Yes.
And I said, wonderful, this is the most wonderful opportunity to bring my evidence that it's me who won, and that's why I have declared myself a winner. So I went to court and said, yes, I declared myself a winner in this treason case. And yes, I have evidence to show why I declared myself a winner. The case was never heard.
Like many of the cases they've charged against.
Until they themselves withdrew the case. Having, of course, tortured me, taken me to Moroto, where I was imprisoned, remanded, taken me to Ruzira, where I was remanded for 2 months before I got bail and so on. And they keep quiet about the case. So, with those, you know, very clear abuses of power for Mr. Museveni to remain in office, if Mwenda really thinks at all, if his head is still the one up and not the feet, wouldn't he realize that it's not just personal bitterness, that it is the system? Because it will be done. In 2021, I was not a candidate.
Yeah. Chagulanyi, it was the same story.
Yes, not even worse.
Yeah.
You know, hundreds of people were mowed down
Yes.
in the town here.
Yeah.
And no accountability has ever been given for the massacre of Ugandans and the terror that was that unfolded in the whole country for all the period. You know, an election comes and you think it's an outbreak of war with the tents of soldiers all over the city. You know, so if Mr. Mwenda cannot appreciate that this is systemic, it's a system that negates the whole process of democratic elections, then you know I don't see how I can assist him to understand, because as I have said, I believe that he now walks on his head. It's very difficult to impress the feet.
That is Dr. Kizza Besigye. We are talking about the electoral reforms that the leader of opposition and his office were thinking that are the solution to the challenges that Uganda has. I would like to listen from you. What do you think? Are these viable, or do you, resonate with the school of thought from Dr. Besigye? Doctor, before we actually leave that particular issue, the common thing that at least most of you agree on is that taking up arms is not a viable solution in order to change government. Some of the opposition members have been suggesting this, saying, but why don't we just take up arms, because these people do not hear the words we are saying and the things that Ugandans are passing over. And some of them believe that going the way that brought peace Museveni is the way they should go. But Doctor, I had Mr. Mugisha Muntu also saying this is not a viable option, and you've also hinted on this is not a viable option. Why do you think that arms won't work in this case?
You see, I fully understand why people would be attracted to pick up arms to fight.
Yes, sir.
Because I have been there myself. I have been attracted to join an armed struggle, and I joined.
Yes.
And so the motivations for my joining are still there. The impunity which I was just talking about, where somebody chooses when to arrest you and how to torture you, when to kill you, when to let you go, you know, that kind of impunity can be extremely annoying and radicalizing. It can radicalize somebody to say, you've tortured me this much, I will pick a gun and fight you. You know, so I can understand the anger and motivation for picking guns, and especially since guns are the ones that are in power. What we are talking about, what we are fighting the gunmen. Yeah. So the struggle is against gunmen, and it's attractive to say if we are fighting against gunmen, then let's level up. Let's also have guns and we have a square fight.
And many of the struggles have always had an armed wing and the political
let's have a square fight.
Yes, please.
And indeed, through our own experience, even if you start with a few guns, if you have popular support, you can collect as many guns as you need from those you are fighting. Because once you have popular support, you can get the weapons and have more weapons than they have. That's how Mr. Museveni, when they went to the bush, they had 20 guns. They had 27 initially, but some were captured from them. at the beginning. They remained with, I think, about 15 or so guns, you know. But because they had popular support, they could grab more guns from the government forces until their capacity grew. So it's possible. It has already been demonstrated that it is possible.
Yes, please.
But it has also been demonstrated, and this is the most critical element, that though you can take up guns and defeat the guns of a dictator, the new guns that have defeated the dictator, by the time they defeat the dictator, the population is even weaker than it was at the beginning of the struggle. Because a population that has gone through war supporting these liberators is weakened itself.
Yes.
They are displaced from their homes. They are
killed.
Their means of livelihood is destroyed. Their social networks are destroyed. Their cultural foundations and networks are destroyed. So they are much weaker by the time the liberation happens, that they are totally unable to cause the liberators to account to them. Just even far more than they were able to cause the ones the liberators defeated, because they are much weaker. So if the liberators were to give power to their supporters who supported them win the war, it would be entirely their willful act, not because there is a compulsion by the people. They would themselves say, okay, we have now captured this power. It was yours. We were capturing it on your behalf, and we now give you empower you to continue. That from history has not, it rarely it happens when the liberators become truly liberators and hand over the power to the people and empower people to take over. What is most common is that because they find themselves all of a sudden in control of the wealth of the country, which is what power affords them, and quite often they are coming from the total opposite side of
the status quo.
Of poverty and marginalization and deprivement. You know, so liberators are, one day they are totally deprived and hungry and poor, and the next day they are in charge of all the wealth.
Wealth. Yeah.
That situation does not lend itself to these people, you know, the very poor now in charge of wealth, to say, surrender that position easily. Yes. It doesn't happen. So that is why we are not attracted to make that mistake again, to think that defeating the dictatorship is the end of the story. It doesn't end there. The story needs to end with the empowerment of the population.
Okay.
And in order for the population to be empowered, you don't have to disempower them first through a military, an armed struggle. They can be empowered to defeat the armed while they are unarmed. Like I have said, all it takes is awakening to be aware that this is our country and we can regain it. Okay. Secondly, to be organized so that they can speak and act together. And once they do that, it is to to withdraw their obedience, withdraw their cooperation from these usurpers of their power. And once they do that, that is the end of the other people.
Okay, Doctor. Let's go in for a short commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. But as we go in, there is a video by the IGG Betty Kamya talking about how corruption only affects the populace, not really affecting the people who it should be affecting. I'm going to be playing that video, but when we come back from the break, we start off with the hot soup that Uganda finds itself in. That is the anti-homosexuality law. What does Dr. Kizza Besigye think about this law? And of course, we shall be delving into conversations of the AMISOM. We were recently attacked by the Al-Shabaab in Somalia, annihilated, and many of our soldiers are killed. Is this a war that Ugandans should be fighting? Is it a war for us to fight, or there are some other hidden interests? President Museveni had some things to say about that. We shall be juxtaposing that in the next hour. Let's go in for Betty Kamya's video, go in for the short commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Let me tell you, for us seated on this side, me here and Mr. Makababad, none of us is going to die in Mulago Hospital because there's no medicine. I'm telling you the truth. If there's no medicine, he will call the president will put him on the plane and take him to America. He is not, and I am not, a victim of corruption. You must know who the victim is and start fighting as victims. You who will die in Mulago Hospital because you don't have the option of going to Nairobi. And when there's no money to work roads, because UNRWA has mismanaged roads and people have stolen money and the roads are bad, me and Mr. Kamabare here, we are driving VXs, we don't even fill the potholes. It is you who is filling the potholes. And for you with your small car and big kawishi, every day you are in the garage, the cost of maintenance is yours. The cost of his maintenance is on NMS.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
Go to the church, though.
Tolly man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Did you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Looking for a pair of shoes? Less Up Stores has a wide range of selection for unisex footwear. We have the best quality of all brands at pocket-friendly prices, and we make deliveries countrywide. Just place your order or reach us on 0772 08 0090. You can also check up at Less Up Stores on all our social media platforms. Less Up, craft your own footprints. Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Col Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
This is the interface. We are still with retired Col Dr. Kizza Besigye. This is the Interface Show. We are always honored and privileged to have him every Saturday. We start from 10 to 12 midday. And of course, we touch base on the different stories or on how Uganda is looking like on the political scene, but also generally how Uganda is. This show is really to just empower different people to make Uganda a better place. And who can do that apart from ourselves as Ugandans, and of course by the guidance of some people who have seen how it ends and coming back to tell us how better we can be or can prepare to make Uganda a better place. I'm seeing many of your messages coming through. Thank you so much. for always tuning in, and thank you so much for sending in those remarks. I'll be commenting on them subsequently as we continue with the show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. I am a journalist right here at Digitalk TV. And before we went in for a short commercial break, you saw that video of the IGG, Betty Kamya. Gigi was talking about, various issues, and I think Dr. Besigye has also highlighted on the very same issues. So I want to start from there before we delve into the conversation. Doctor, always a privilege having you here on the show, and as we were going in for a break, we had the IGG saying something, and I felt she was resonating with what you are always saying here, that it's Ugandans really to stand up for themselves, because according to her, Ugandans are the victims of corruption, not the people in power, not the leaders, but Ugandans themselves. What is your comment on that?
Well, I think Betty made two observations that are correct and should be paid attention to. The first one,
yes,
she says implicitly that Uganda is run by a system of corruption. That is a fact, that the system that runs the country is a corrupt system itself, which privileges some and undermines others. So she says if the privileged are sick, they will be taken abroad for treatment at the expense of the underprivileged. If the underprivileged are sick, they will go to Mulago to die. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Which is saying, if the roads are bad, the privileged will be given very powerful vehicles,
the VXs,
to protect them from the effects of the bad roads. When those bad vehicles, and these powerful vehicles will be bought by the underprivileged.
Yes.
For them who should have made the roads in the first place, but have not made them, and the roads are bad. So when the roads become bad, the underprivileged buy them the powerful vehicles to avoid filling the holes in the roads. And when the powerful vehicles get problems, the underprivileged must repair them. Whereas for the underprivileged, first of all, they will feel the pain of the potholes in their tiny rickety cars.
Those who have the cars, though.
Even those who don't have, they will be in the rickety matatus. Suffering from the potholes, including patients, trying to get to help from anywhere. They will be in those roads, while the healthy people have been afforded, the powerful vehicles to just roll over the potholes. And those rickety vehicles, when they break down, it is the same people that also have to maintain them. So all that is truth. She's telling truth to Ugandans that this is a corrupt system. You have nothing to do about it. And in this corrupt system, you are the victims.
Yeah.
And this corrupt system is not going to change itself. You victims must rise up and end it. So her message is plain and spot on. It's talking about the facts of the matter. And so, just like she left it for the victims, I too can only leave it to the victims. And so I've seen some people comment about what she said as if, attacking her for being arrogant. They say, you are arrogant. You think you will continue enjoying those things. That's not her message. Her message is, I am enjoying this, and there is nothing you are going to do about it. But for this to change, you have to do something to change it. Yeah. So she's actually she's making a rallying call for the victims to create a just system and end corrupt system.
The thing that you're always mentioning.
Absolutely, exactly. Absolutely.
I think we all, as a country, want to agree that corruption is the biggest problem. Because even President Museveni recently, as he was commenting on the attack we had on the armies, on our soldiers in Somalia, he put out that there is a challenge of corruption. Many of our commanders are taking their cooks, their family members, their private bodyguards, people who they feel they want to give an opportunity. And he says because of this, that's why we even had that thorough, annihilation of our soldiers in Somalia. Doctor, do you also want to agree with the president on what he has said?
You see, Mr. Honorable Norbert Mao,
yes, sir,
before he chose to join them, he was fond of saying that the fish rots from the head.
Ekobote.
Yes, the fish rots from the head.
Yes, sir.
That corrupt system that Bet Kamia is talking about, that you are talking about, that Mr. Museveni himself is talking about, starts from the rot in Mr. Museveni himself, the head. That's where the rot starts. And that's why, I was surprised that Honorable Norbert Mao, who has been singing this, he chose to embrace the rot, thinking that maybe it will become fresh again. It can't.
Right, but he has promised us to wait. Let's wait on him. He says he's doing something in government there, that he's instigating a change from within.
You can't just jump into the rotten head and hope to come out without a smell. Anyhow, so yes, we are where we are as a country, frankly, because Mr. Museveni is corrupt through and through, and has built and superintended over a terrible system of corruption. So it's systemic. It's a system of corruption. It's not just individuals. No, it's a system of corruption. So leaders come into leadership by corruption.
Yeah.
They stay there by corruption. Public servants come into office by corruption. They stay there by corruption. They are promoted by corruption. So it's the whole system. Somebody was telling me that in the local governments, the cost of jobs is now established, and it's public knowledge. If you want to get this job, it's 10 million. If you want to get the other one, you have to pay so much.
Yeah.
There is nobody who gets a job without paying.
The Minister for Presidency came out to say that she's always sent money from RDC. Someone sends her 10 million, and she, what are you sending me the money for?
So that is the system of corruption. Now, the system of corruption undermines itself eventually. And that's why it rots and collapses. The soldiers you are talking about,
Yes.
In Somalia, it is true, and we've been talking about it. And of course, Mr. Museveni never likes anybody else to talk about his military. It should only be himself that can talk about it. But it has been public knowledge for a long time that to be among the troops to be deployed on international missions, you have to pay. So people go to fight. You are paying to go and fight.
Yeah.
Instead of choosing the best fighters, they choose the best payers, the best bribers, not the best soldiers. And so your force is not the most equipped to fight. So if Mr. Museveni says they panicked, the people who are panicking are right to panic because they did not come bargaining to fight. They came bargaining to get a return on their investment. They invested money to go.
It's like a business.
It's a business. They invested money. The reason they bribe to go is because they pay, the money the UN pays for our soldiers is much higher than what the soldiers get here.
Yes.
So they bribe to go and get the higher pay. It is not different from the candidates bribing voters to go to parliament, which is paying highly to recover what they bribed. So in parliament, you don't have the most qualified people to represent the people. You have the most facilitated to bribe. Not to represent, but to bribe and go to parliament. And that's why parliament, the quality of parliament has, collapsed.
Yes.
Unbelievably. Because the people who are there are bidders, the highest bidders, not necessarily the best representatives. Similarly, in war, you now have the investors, not the fighters. You have people who are paying to go. And those who are paying to go, first of all, they will want to preserve themselves so that they can bring back their return, their reward for what they invested. So self-preservation is is one of their highest priorities, not the mission
itself.
No. And so that has been going on quite obviously under Mr. Museveni's watch. I doubt that he can claim ignorance considering the amount of effort and resources he puts in intelligence to listen to especially what the soldiers say. He invests and takes a lot of interest. So I believe he knew. But he is also an investor, I have been saying that even that money the UN pays does not get to the soldiers. a significant part is creamed off by some people. So it means that this enterprise that Somalia now is invested in at different levels. There are these retailers who put in their small investments in order to join a battalion that is going. But there are also the wholesalers who take the whole contingent and the money is coming from the contingent. They also cream of certain amount. Even and this is why it has become actually quite dangerous, because even those who return, having survived all those dangerous situations in which they find themselves, even getting the little that is supposed to remain for them becomes a problem. They are here for months and months begging to be paid what is theirs, which was paid a long time ago by the United Nations. So it's really a very, very bad situation. It stinks. And this is why I was saying that all these corrupt people around this enterprise cannot be the ones to investigate it. It's a joke. Say that all those people in the deployment processes that have caused this, that they can form a board of inquiry
Investigate themselves.
to investigate themselves. It's a joke. That's why this would need a special effort from outside that military, those military structures to actually go in and understand what this is about. But it's highly protected, and I believe for obvious reasons.
But the corruption we're talking about here is affecting people's lives. People are dying.
Of course.
There. And,
of course.
And we seem like we don't really care or something.
But that is the whole thing that we have been discussing today since we came here, the whole question of impunity. Yes, people are dying. Yes, people's dues are stolen. Yes, people are bribing to do this. Yes, it is known. Yes. But so who has power to act? Who has power to act? That's the impunity. So we have people who can do anything and get away with anything. And that's what cannot be changed by amending the laws. And even if you go to UPDF Act and say soldiers must be promptly paid, they won't. So what happens? That you should not deduct soldiers' pay, but it will. So what? So that impunity cannot be impunity and corruption, abuse of power, cannot be reformed by the law. Because it's an abuse anyway, it's an abuse of the power. Yeah. But it cannot be reformed by law. So that's why the reform that the country must have is a revolution to shift power from those who control it by force to the population. That's a revolution. It has never happened since the colonial advent. Power has never been in the population. Yes. That's the revolution that Uganda must have. Some time back, we were talking about, second revolution. But the first revolution was to get the foreigners who were dominating us out. That was a successful struggle. The second struggle is to end domination by our own black people. And that has not happened in the last 60 years. We hope it will happen. But it will not happen on its own. Our people must stand up and take a stand. Just like the martyrs must take a stand against the king and say, King, we no longer believe what you are doing. We withdraw our obedience to you. We shall not cooperate with you. You must go. Those are the, we withdraw our obedience to you. You have no right to have power over us. We withdraw our cooperation with you. And that, just taking that stand will shift. That's the revolution that is needed. Okay. And as I have said, for that to materialize, first, everybody who has woken up to that reality must inform the others, like Betty is doing. Actually, Betty was doing a good job saying, you victims, it is you. It is you to end this. Exactly. I am not a victim, you are the victim. Do something, So everybody who has understood this message, that's what they must propagate so that a critical mass of Ugandans get it.
Yes.
Today there are many who don't get it, and there are many who try their best to make sure that people don't get it.
Yes.
And of course the regime, most of them paid by the regime to confuse, the mwendas of this world, who are paid by the regime or facilitated in whatever way by the regime to make sure that people don't get the cracks of this matter.
Okay.
So we must be more, our voices must be more and get there to arouse people to take the stand.
Okay, but you've mentioned a couple of people, but there is also a group of Ugandans who are just adamant and they don't really care. I think, Doctor, if you've watched a video on social media where a gentleman says, for me, I wake up in the morning and I have my money in my pocket. So what do you mean they have stolen from me? So we also have that deliberate populace that is deliberately refusing.
No, those are extremely few because those are decadent. Anybody who has hunger, and they are the greatest majority, who wakes up hungry, who sleeps hungry, whose health care is unassured, like Betty was saying, who cannot go to a hospital and get health care.
Yes.
The ones whose children are in the horrible UPE schools, or even can't afford the UPE schools because even the UPE schools need something. Those are the greatest majority. The decadent, the sons and daughters of the thieves and all these people who control power, they are very few. So those can be ignored in, the ones who will be saying, buy people cakes if they have no food.
Exactly. The Marie Antoinette. Let me read a few messages here. Shafiq Sanya, thank you so much for tuning in. You are live from Ishaka Bushenyi. In Uganda, we have got a problem. We have got even a problem of women who think that the struggle is for men only. Nowadays, women are the most people who are highly suffering from hospitals, but women are still closing their eyes, yet every struggle involved in women, it can easily succeed. I call upon even women to be involved in this struggle. They should stop crying every day and night, and after they should go and after they go to sleep. Very important issue. I think there are people who have actually mentioned this, Doctor, before, that women are oblivious of the struggle, but Doctor will comment on that. Godfrey Eager says we need to get up and demonstrate, boycott, and refuse to obey the commands of the regime. I have Pars Asingwire from Rukungiri. Massively grateful to Colonel retired Dr. Besigye. level of consistency, patience, and huge amount of intelligence. We have to continue with that level of sensitization to remove this set of mafias that have held us captives. He continues to say, who are arrogant, proud, corrupt, selfish, oppressive. These tendencies must be stopped. Otherwise, these people have problems to Uganda and outside Uganda and even themselves. What goes around comes around. Be blessed. You be blessed too, Pars. General Abdul Haruna, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Then now Kenya, Brenda says, thank you for the show and God bless you all abundantly. Yeah, you can continue sending in those messages. I'll be reading them subsequently as we continue with this discussion. Doctor, before we move on to from this issue, they mentioned an issue of women, and I've also had it in the corridors of various people. They say women are oblivious of the struggle. They are not really taking part in this struggle, and they have let it at the helm of men. This is what Shafiq Sanya has to say. Is there any comment you'd like to make?
Yes, to vehemently disagree. I think actually our women are very significantly engaged in the struggle and have played a very significant role in its pursuance. I think what causes that is to look at especially the rural women. Yes, a lot of our rural women have been taken advantage of. And understandably, first of all, they have had less opportunity to acquire knowledge. Yes. They are never sent to schools. They are the dropouts. If there is money for one kid in the family, it takes a boy. The girl drops out, and so on and so forth. So, yes, rural women have been taken advantage of and continue to be taken advantage of by the regime through all kinds of manipulation. If you go to the sub-county where they are, all these gimmicks of programs of the government are being rolled out, whether it's those I was talking about, the Bagagawale, they are the ones who are always marching up and down, hoping to get something and never getting much out of there. But, you go into the, the youth movement. The women are very, very active in the youth movement, in the student politics. Go to all these campuses. Yes. The girls are very, very active within the political formations that we have. The ladies are very, very active. So I don't really agree to the notion that women have not been involved significantly in the struggle. I think they have. All right. And we would like them to get even more involved. And they can. Yes, because you see, first of all, they have even more causes to seek change than others. Any situation of injustice actually affects women more than men because the women inherently take care of more people than men. Yes. They are the ones who are burdened by their children and families. If there is a problem in the health system, it is the women that are greatly impacted with their children. The men are much less caring, and involved in the health care of their children. The mothers they are sleeping with those crying children in the hospitals with no help and so on. If it is education, it is the mothers that feel most of the pain of their children not going for education. If it is the abuse of rights and getting
girls forced into marriage and all kinds of things when they are young, and all the injustices tend to affect the women more, and so they have greater cause to fight. And you've seen like the struggle in Sudan. The women were, the leaders.
Yeah, even it was led by a 22-year-old.
The women were the leaders, not just one. The women were the leaders of the struggle. And I believe we have women that can do the same here. Okay. You may have seen some women MPs who on their own took up the whole machinery recently.
Yes.
They were even some time back, I think there were only 6 women who took up the police and so on, and they were taken to prisons and they stayed there, I think, for 2 weeks or so in Rosita. Just 6 women who were challenging the injustice in the pricing of commodities and so on. So we have women that have the capacity to fight, and I would encourage them to take the leadership.
Okay. Allow me, Doctor, read a few messages. There are many here. Kamala Alpha, shall we manage to change the government with votes? Because now we've seen that all those people who have been in power were removed by force. What do you say about that? I think Doctor already answered that. Lume Paluku, keenly following from Kasese, thank you so much. Unfortunately, there are increasing rates of suicide in Kasese. According to a report, there are 60 people die of suicide, commit suicide every month. That is so unfortunate in Kasese. Lume Paluku, thank you so much for watching. Such, not good news coming in from Kasese. Together we can Times says Ugandans are not in charge of their country. Nobody should lie to you that freedom will simply be given. A must to fight. That is true. Ismail Simwe says the opposition elite, in brackets office seekers, are the deliberate misdiagnosing. I think you wanted to mean are deliberately misdiagnosing the problem at hand. There is no problem with the laws we have, rather the impunity of the NRS/M7 junta. It doesn't matter how good a law is, its implementers are. The constitution is not just a paper, but the people who implement it or don't. That is Asimo Ismail. Together says Webare Kusomesa Gwanga, Tata Wafe, Dr. Besigye. The fundamental change that is needed is in Constitution Article 3. There are reforms required, but in the laws. People must fight to regain their sovereignty. Amanyere Medi says volume, I think that was worked upon. Together we can. My love for Dr. Besigye will never cease. God's blessing. John Vianney Ayebare, freedom of conscience. Then I have who else here? Emma Mulako says watching my president live from Abu Dhabi. Thank you so much for watching from Abu Dhabi. Nasasira Barnabas, you are watching. You say here to learn from the president. I think you are learning something. Monday, Joseph Julio, one people, one Uganda. Even Asimo says, even the apartheid policy in South Africa was official law and policy. Why then did the people of South Africa oppose it? The power of the people first, then from it emanates the people's constitution. Thank you so much. The British stayed here for 70 years. Since then, it is now 60 years, and Ugandans have never witnessed a peaceful change of power. We need to stop deceiving ourselves. There is nothing called constitutional reviews. I think many people agree with you here. Kapapula Uma says, Dr. Besigye, I can never get tired of listening to your words of wisdom. Thank you so much for pumping sense to the leader of opposition and his group. The country's biggest problem are positional and transactional politicians who only are interested in becoming or remaining MPs in a captured country. He calls them office seekers, short-sighted opposition political elite. Elas Jason says, Uganda's chronic problem started shortly after the independence in the 1960s with our founders of independence who really became greedy and override the constitution to attain power without considering the people. Obote was the genesis of all this mess, and his ghosts have been in every president. He overthrew Mutesa, and Amin overthrew Obote, and I think eventually was overthrown by pro Obote, and eventually Obote. Yes, and he says eventually Obote was overthrown by Okello, Tito Lutwa, and Museveni overthrew Lutwa and Obote. We need to break this vicious cycle of the gun. You're accurate. Flash Maganzi says, Col Besigye and Bobi Wine for has been calling Ugandans to take up arms indirectly, but it has failed. They often say, the kunganya twekolemu omulimu mweteke tutwale omusajja etc. But Ugandans have simply refused. The new guns that had defeated the guns of the dictator will be worse, since they have been fighting for their lives. That is, Otafire Rugumayo says, thank you, Doctor. Guys, I think, allow me first stop here. I will be reading most of your messages because there are very many. I cannot finish them right about now. Doctor, I want us to delve. Do you have any comment on some of the issues that have been raised by these people who are watching?
Well, I think there are many comments there. It's difficult to respond to each one of them. But yes, I'm very, very happy that quite a great majority of them get it.
Yes.
You know, they get what this is all about.
Yes.
And where the problems lie, you know, they get it. You know, the ones who are saying the solution is in Article 3 of the Constitution, which talks about the defense of the people's sovereignty.
Yes,
and that is true. You know, the struggle we are calling on Ugandans to undertake is happily provided for in this constitution of the junta.
Yes, sir.
It is in Article 3. At least they haven't expunged that.
Power belongs to the people.
That is Article 1. Yes, but Article 3, where they say if the constitution is violated, overthrown, or whatever, then people have
the duty,
a right and a duty to do everything in their power to make sure that the people's will is reestablished. And that is why all in their power goes beyond just amending the constitution or the laws. Now, I hear you talking about the suicides in Kasese. Actually, suicides are everywhere.
Yes, that's true.
And no doubt a sign of people becoming depressed as a result of failing to cope with their situation. They become depressed and eventually end their lives. And, you know, Kasese has had a very unfair share of attack and marginalization and exclusion by the government for a very long time. Understandably, because, again, Kasese took a stand. You see?
Yes.
Kasese was among the first area in Uganda to take a strong stand and to maintain it, to say, this is not what you should be doing, this is not correct. We oppose what you are doing. They took a stand and have remained true by their stand and have been hit. You know, in fact, we should celebrate, the country should celebrate the people of Kasese even as we remember the martyrs that took a stand, because they are in many ways martyrs for Uganda. Their king is in prison here.
Yes.
For now, about 7 years. He's been in prison. Of course, he was in Rosira for some time, and in Jinja, I don't know where, and his people have been massacred, terrorized, excluded, and so that kind of depression being higher there, and people ending their lives is a reflection of what the situation in the Great Kasese is. But also the same as we have been saying in the country. That's why we said there is a failure to thrive crisis, FTT, failure to thrive crisis in the country. People cannot thrive. Yeah. And that's what they end up doing. Now, I agree entirely with the person who was saying that one of the obstacles to our liberation is really people who are just focused on seeking offices in a junta-led system. Because, of course, seeking offices by itself is all right, but there is a way in which some of our people simply focus on getting an office for themselves, regardless of this change, the major reform that is needed to happening. And quite often, in the process of just doing that, they undermine the broader struggle for causing that system in which they serve to end. They actually legitimize and create an impression that there is both in action and in perception that there is some democratic system. It has a few problems, but
there is change of leaders.
It is there. The opposition is there, and
there is legitimacy.
Yes, and really, frankly, like if you look at our parliament, one should expect more in terms of using those spaces to advance the end of the evil system. Because that should be, if you win a space there, the idea is to use it to end, not just to change, to hope that you will win more and become the majority. Because in the evil system is a system of capture. They captured the country. So the spaces that are occupied should be used to end the system itself. And one does not see that focus on the part of quite many of those who are elected by people for change. Yes. You hear just a few voices, Semuju, you don't know who, others you don't know.
You don't hear them.
Yeah, so now there is one who was condemning leaders, who have led Uganda up to now. And of course, they have not played a positive role for our country, the leaders themselves, from Museveni and all his successors. But you see, just like colonialism, we must come to a point where we stop blaming others for our own failures, because the responsibility is ours to reclaim our country. If we don't reclaim our country, if we are just, idle here, then those who dominate us will not cease. You see, the reason the British dominated us is because we were weak. The reason these ones are dominating us is because we are disorganized And
Doctor, we have like a few minutes to go, 5, 6. I want you to just comment on the anti-homosexuality law and what it really means to Uganda today, and the backlash we've had from the international community, Doctor. Is this a law we needed at a time like this?
You see, regrettably, it has stirred up some kind of a mass hysteria. People to be entranced by this question, that rationality, thinking rationally, has taken a back seat. And when people are not thinking rationally, when they are just emotional and charged, it is very difficult to consider issues in a meaningful way. And there are many issues that surround this whole question of homosexuality. And that's why I pointed out some time back that I have tasked myself to make a write-up about this subject, because there are many issues, many facets involved in these issues that I believe that in the whole concern, in the the radicalized and sensationalized environment around the subject that the country has been stirred into, that it needs to systematically go through all these things for the country and put them on record, not just talking and somebody grabs a phrase and runs with it. I want a proper record of how I think on this subject to be out there for anybody to refer to at any time in its entirety. Having said that, and it has now become law, because otherwise we are talking about a speculation of what will be or what will not be a law.
Yes.
But since apparently the law was assented to, Mr. Museveni signed it on the 26th of last month, though it became public on the 28th of June, of May. And certain, so I just want to make some observations, a few observations. As I have said, I will make my, now that the law is there, I will make my remarks, written and published remarks on the law. But certain indicators of how this has been managed that should be concerning is that, you see, we had a law, a similar law passed in 2013. I
think it was 14.
The bill was 2013, and maybe it was passed in 2014. So it was passed. It was assented to very quickly, actually, by Mr. Museveni, even more quickly than now.
This one, yeah.
Ceremonially, it was, I think, the only bill that has been had a ceremonial signing of all the laws that we have. There was a ceremony to sign, and then it was challenged in court. Among the people who challenged it in court were his close associates. People who have worked in the State House, people who, like Odoi, Fox Odoi, he was the legal officer in the State House. Mwenda, his mouthpiece, and so on. They went to court and knocked it down. 2014.
Yes, Doctor.
And the court too acted very fast and unusually. Our cases last in the court for decades. You know, there are cases, constitutional cases that have been in court for decades. They have, and touching on our rights and so on. That one was had expeditiously and the law scrapped. Since then, there was silence from the government whose law had been struck down. And struck down on a technicality, because it was only struck down that there was no quorum.
Yes, to pass it.
So what Mr. Museveni needed to do to have his law, the law he has just signed, revived, was simply to call the caucus and tell them to go to parliament and now pass it with
the numbers needed.
With the quorum. That never happened. It is nearly 10 years. There was nothing. Even now, it is not the government. Even then, it was not the government that started, that brought the bill. No, Mr. Museveni, the government of Uganda has never, the government of Uganda that Mr. Museveni leads has never brought any bill to parliament to deal with homosexuality. It has never.
Doctor, what are you trying to say? Because you're right.
I'm just trying to give you the facts. Because as I have said, I will comment on this in a comprehensive way in writing. Yeah. But I'm trying to draw the attention of the public about what should be seen as unusual and therefore attract attention, even as they wait for what I intend to present. So the first thing that I am saying is that government has never initiated a law on homosexuality.
Yes, Doctor.
When a private member initiated a law that was ceremonially signed with a lot of pomp and pageantry, government-related people challenged it, and the courts acted with extreme efficiency and knocked it down. And government kept quiet, whose law had been knocked down, kept quiet for nearly 10 years until another private member brought another bill. In fact, now the private member being from opposition. Government had never brought a bill or sought or had never sought to correct what had been struck down.
Yeah.
So that itself starts to create a sign of government's attitude towards the law. even now, it became public knowledge that Mr. Museveni had signed it sometime in the afternoon of a Monday. In the morning, before it became public knowledge that it had been signed, in the morning, a petition was filed against it.
Before the public had known.
Yes.
There is something fishy. We are afraid we are out of time. The rest of people want to know more about that issue. Let's wait for the missive or the document that you're going to publish.
Yes.
Yeah.
But before even that missive, I can say, because I think some people are very keen on my own personal views about this. First of all, I would like to categorically state that I believe in the Christian faith and in the scriptures, and so I consider homosexuality as a sin. What I find strange, and especially from believers like me, is to assume the role of judges when the Bible is categorically clear. If you read the book of Luke, St. Luke, in chapter 6, it is categorically clear: don't judge, and you will not be judged. Don't condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. I think that is chapter 6, verse 37. But even earlier in, I think, verse 31 maybe or something, it goes on to say many things about love. That if you love those who love you, what is your credit? Even sinners love those who love them, you know?
Yes.
So you must love those who are different from you, you know? And so I have significant issues with how especially believers consider how they respond to what is considered as sin. And of course, they also consider what they consider sin and respond to it in very inconsistent ways, you know?
Yes, sir.
Because homosexuality, fornication, promiscuity, they are the same.
Even adultery, put it there.
Even adultery, they are the same, you know. But how they respond to them seems to be selective.
Exactly.
You know, we've had here very senior clerics actually caught red-handed in adultery, and you know, you don't see the kind of
punishments.
I will make my views on this because I have been attacked. My family has been attacked over this, continues to be attacked, condemned, and all kinds of things. So I will definitely
all right, Doctor.
Present a matter on this.
All right, Doctor. Thank you so much for always joining us. It's always a privilege having you on the show. Unfortunately, we've been a bit late for 5-6 minutes. We are sorry, but that had to really be passed on by Dr. Kizza Besigye. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Interface Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. It's always a privilege having you right here. We shall be having the Snap Talk that will be happening at 6 p.m. Please do tune in. The ladies will be here talking about family affairs and other issues that are happening in that particular world. So do tune in at exactly 6 p.m., we are having the Snap Talk Show, proudly hosted by Teddy Tenjo Namkera. Do follow us on our different social media platforms at The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all other social media platforms, at Digitalk TV still on Facebook, Twitter, and all other social media platforms. We shall see you next Saturday at exactly 10 a.m. Please do tune in. That will be in Luganda, hosted by Mr. Arnold Mukose Anthony. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga, for God and my country. Thank you, Doctor.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.